Hello, everybody. Welcome to a Monday edition of the Southside Beat. My name is Chris Halicke, and thank you so much for joining today. If you're watching live here on our DK Pittsburgh Sports YouTube channel, really appreciate you guys joining live, joining the conversation. And if you're listening afterward, we thank you for obviously listening on whatever platform you are. And shoot, man, we're just on every platform possible. So thank you so much for tuning in. So some big news for Steelers fans, really for AFC North fans, not just Steelers, but AFC North fans. If you are a fan of the Hard Knocks series on HBO, which has become wildly popular, as it gives everybody behind the scenes look, all access look into what's going on behind the scenes during training camp and stuff like that. Well, guess what? AFC North is now we've known this for a while. The NFL was going to choose a division to have the Hard Knocks crew or whatever follow along and tell that story. And as soon as that was said, I was like, I really have a feeling it's going to be the AFC North. It's just it's a very interesting division. It's a very good division. It's the best division in football right now. So had a feeling, and lo and behold, NFL Monday afternoon announces Hard Knocks end season is going to focus on the AFC North. So Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, Browns, they're going to be at the forefront. Debuts, I think it's December 3rd. You can watch it on HBO or stream it on Max. I keep wanting to call it HBO Max. It's pretty much what it is. Why they had to drop the HBO, I don't know. But yeah, in season, and Mark says it here, in season. This is not training camp. This is not, off season like I think they're doing with the Bears. This is in season, which is why it debuts December 3rd. They're going to, yeah, it's exciting, man. I will say that it's pretty exciting. It's in season, so you're going to see the breakdown of this, how everything plays out, over the course of the season. And obviously they're going to have this really focused on, when things are going down to the wire and these teams are really, making their case to try to win the AFC North. And ironically enough, and I already had somebody in my live cues today on the site kind of break it up, that this kind of confirms the conspiracy theory that the NFL had against the Steelers when making their schedule, right? Because we talked about it when the schedule was released. Those final 8 games are pretty freaking brutal, because not only of the layout of certain games, particularly that 3-game stretch leading up to Christmas, where they have to go to Philly, then 6 days later play in Baltimore, and then 4 days later on Christmas Day host the defending champion Chiefs, right? But finals of the final 8 games, that's where all 6 divisional games are. And obviously fans were not very happy about that. Understandably so. Team probably wasn't very happy about it. But it's the hand that they were dealt, and here we are about a month or so later. There you go. That might be the reason why. Now, I haven't sat here and actually gone through. As a matter of fact, let's do that together. Let's pull up the Ravens 2024 schedule. It'd be very interesting. Ravens schedule 2024. When do they play certain teams? Because obviously we know when each of those teams play the Steelers, right? Let's see, Ravens 2024 schedule. They play, obviously we know they play the Steelers in weeks 11 and 15, I think it is. I don't remember the second one, but we know it's the right before Christmas. Ravens' first preseason game is at Cincinnati in week 5. And then they play Cleveland at Cleveland week 8. And then Cincinnati in week 10. So when the Ravens play the Steelers for the first time, that will be the 4th time the Ravens have played in the AFC North when the Steelers are playing for the first time. Right? So that's that. Okay. So we know that now. Let's pull up the Bengals schedule and just have that, because this is really, really, really interesting. Now, I do know that like the Ravens, it's not, was it the Ravens or the Browns? I can't remember which one. Like the Browns, I think had a tough stretch real quick. But here for the Bengals, their first obviously is also that matchup against Baltimore in week 5. Then they're at Cleveland in week 7. And then at Baltimore. So Bengals and Ravens are already done by week 10 before the Steelers even play a regular play an AFC North game. The Bengals and Ravens will already be done. Right. So that alone is kind of, that's the Steelers can look at that and be like, what the heck, And then, obviously, okay, Bengals and Steelers in Pittsburgh that's in Cincinnati on week 13. And then Cincy and Cleveland in week 16. And then obviously the season finale is Cincy in Pittsburgh in week 18. Let's do the Browns real quick. Browns schedule. Because I think the Browns actually had a pretty rough stretch in there too. I just can't remember exactly where it was. The Browns' first divisional game isn't until week 7. And that's that Cincinnati game. Then they play Baltimore immediately, and both of those are home. So Cleveland at least gets, first 6 weeks of the season, okay. No divisional games, but then when they finally do play division games, they're both back-to-back at home. Now, you could say, okay, well, that means more road divisional games later on. Okay. But we do know that the Steelers and Browns play each other twice in 3 weeks. Right, weeks 12 and 14. And when the Steelers play the Browns, the Steelers will have just played the Ravens 4 days beforehand. So that's like advantage Cleveland there. Home on a short week, and the Steelers will have just played the Browns. Meanwhile, the Browns will have just played the Saints in New Orleans. So road game, okay, not the easiest thing, go play on the road, especially it's not but still it's the Saints. Browns playing the Saints, it's out of conference game, not a rivalry game. It's not the same as when the Steelers and Ravens play each other. And so, yeah, so I was trying to look at that stretch. There is a bit of a rough stretch here for Cleveland down the stretch. So week 12 home against the Steelers, week 13 at Denver, week 14 in Pittsburgh, then home against the Chiefs, at Cincinnati on a short week. Have to go to Cincinnati 4 days later after playing the Chiefs, and then home against Miami, and then at Baltimore to close out the season. So that's not necessarily easy either. But I would still very, very much argue that the Steelers have it the most. Like they got the shaft, right? The Browns got a little tiny shaft. The Steelers really got the shaft. So, and Lifted Once Here says, I think the NFL is trying to send a message to Pittsburgh. I don't know if that's necessarily it, because you could look at this, one of two ways, and there might be a little bit of truth to both. The Steelers have long, and this is where you could think the NFL has it out for the Steelers. The Steelers have long tried to avoid the Hard Knocks thing. They don't like, the Steelers like their privacy. They don't like necessarily being in the limelight. And the thing that the catch-22 there is, like, well, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they can't really completely avoid the limelight. This goes all the way back to not wanting to be America's team in the 70s, when the Steelers were obviously the team of the decade, and they didn't want to be America's team. And so the Cowboys took on that name, despite being second best. Matthew really quick says, nice hat, Chris. Yeah, appreciate it. That was a Father's Day gift. For those not watching, I'm wearing a gray trucker hat that just has big old DAD on the front. It was one of my nice little Father's Day gifts, so I like it. But so the Steelers have long not wanted to be thought of like as this, not necessarily like a marquee franchise. I think there's a certain, there's a certain level of pride that comes with it. Pittsburgh's not the biggest city in the country. It's not the biggest city in the state. But the Steelers are still, despite being one of the smaller big cities in the country, they're one of the marquee franchises in the NFL, regardless of what the recent, lack of success in the playoffs tell you, or regardless of your opinion of Mike Tomlin or Art Rooney II or anything like that, doesn't change the Steelers brand. The Steelers brand is very valuable. And so, because of that, and Barbara says they are Pittsburgh's team. Yeah, that was the response to the whole America's team thing. And so I think there's just a certain portion that I think the Steelers have a little bit more humility than some other franchises when it comes to certain things. Yes, we're a marquee franchise, but we're not all about flash and pomp. And I think that probably has a lot to do with not wanting to be the focus of Hard Knocks. I also think Mike Tomlin doesn't necessarily want to peel back the curtain too much. He wants his team to remain, singularly focused, regardless of how you feel about Mike Tomlin. I think that's, that sentiment's pretty true when it comes to how he feels. He doesn't want any distractions, and Hard Knocks would definitely be a distraction, because not only having cameras around, people, poking and prodding about, what they're filming, but also whenever those episodes start airing, the noise that will accompany it, right? Regardless of whether it's good press, bad press, whatever it is, it's still going to be noise. And it's something that he's going to have his players avoid somehow, try to tune that out. And that's not the easiest thing to do. And so I think that's one of the main reasons why, and Crystal, puts it right. She says HBO will get great content. All the drama on this team seems to go down in December. I think that's one of the reasons why, whether it's going down in training camp or going down, during the home stretch in December and January, when this team's trying to make the playoffs or try to win a division, whatever it is. I just think that the less noisy the team is, the better. And I think Mike Tomlin prefers a less noisy environment. And this does not do that. This only turns the volume up. And so Barbara here says, quotes, outside fodder. There you go. But I think that if the Steelers were eventually going to have to be forced into having to do this, this is the way to do it. They're not going to be the singular focus, right? They're not going to be. They got to share it with 4 different teams. So maybe this is the best way for the Steelers to try to get away with it. Be like, all right, well, we'll take part in it whenever it's, not just us, whenever you're having to share screen time throughout 4 different teams. And this is one of those times where the Steelers are going to be riding that line between, we would obviously prefer for some of the teams in our division to be pretty terrible, because that gives us a better chance to make the playoffs. But if that happens, let's just say if the Browns, stink it up and they're almost out of it by the time, Hard Knocks even airs, then Steelers might be forced into some more screen time, because there probably will be a lot of screen. Same thing happens with the Ravens. One of these teams star quarterback goes down with an injury, and is out for the season, whatever it is, you never know. So, but, and good comment here from no one, says we're a football team, not a reality show. And I think that pretty much sums up Mike Tomlin's stance. He would just prefer to be coaching football, not have to be worrying about his team being the focus of, some sort of drama that's going on during the week. And yeah, it's just, like I said, I think this is the opportunity in which the Steelers were like, okay, if we're going to have to eventually be part of it, twist our arm enough, then okay, we'll do it whenever the whole division is being the focus of it. And honestly, it makes a lot of sense that, which is why I thought AFC North, whenever, the NFL was like, oh, they're going to do a Hard Knocks on the entire division. I'm like, AFC North just came off of a season in which every single team, for the first time in history, every team finished with a winning record. 3 teams made the playoffs. Last place team was 9-8. Like, yeah. So it's kind of hard to not make the AFC North like the most obvious choice. But I'll see what some of you guys. What do you guys think? I'm sure you guys have seen it a lot in the comments, or have said a lot of it in the comments. I'm trying to go through it now. What do you guys think of it? Do you like it? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Kind of indifferent about it? Doesn't matter. Whatever. Because the Steelers themselves have their own show that does kind of peels back the curtain a little bit. But remember that media team is like, they're all team employees, right? So they're pretty much told where to go, where not to go, no matter what. The Steelers have a lot more control over that. I'll put it this way. I don't feel I feel bad for the PR team. I do feel bad for the PR team. William says, not sure what you're talking about. I think William just joined. Yep, he just joined. Says, just got here. What's up? Well, William, and for anybody else who doesn't know, NFL Hard Knocks, the AFC North, for the first time, Hard Knocks is going to be featuring an entire division, and the AFC North is that division, and it's going to be in season. Debuts December 3rd. There you go. Steelers are going to be part of Hard Knocks, along with the Ravens, Bengals, and Browns. So there you go. I got a story on it on DKPittsburghSports.com. You can go read for some more details on it. Put some comments on here. Jay Moods, kind of hate it. Understand that. Mike Jones says, I hate it. Never wanted it here. Get it. Understand it. Mike Tomlin probably shares your enthusiasm. Jay Moods says, boo. Crystal says, Bert has no hair, so he has nothing to lose. I don't know about that, man. Just because you have no hair left doesn't mean that you can't feel stress. Absolutely, man. And it's not just Bert, man. Like the entire PR team. I'm can't wait to have conversations with them about this to see how they're best preparing for it. William says, yay, maybe I'll watch it now. Yeah. Well, there are probably a lot of Steelers fans who haven't watched it yet, just because like the fact that the Bengals have been on twice, like during the training camp session. So no one says I hate it. Just a distraction from football. I think no one is Mike Tomlin's burner account on here. I'm just joking. Excuse me. Yeah, it's I think that's honestly probably the biggest thing there. It is what it is, man. B Phil says, actually, I've never watched it. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Steelers fans are typically, it's Steelers or nothing. You don't get a lot of you have enough people who are NFL fans who are also football fans, or I'm sorry, who are also Steelers fans. And so they probably just watch any kind of NFL content there is. But then there's a really good portion of Steeler Nation that I believe that if it's not the Steelers, I'm not watching. Right. And so Lifted What says NFL is just looking for another bag of money. That's what they're about, man. They're not the richest league in the world for no reason, man. They know how to make that money, and they are going to take advantage of it. And I think one of the reasons why, obviously, the NFL has wanted the Steelers to be part of it is just because, Mike Tomlin's interesting. Like I said, whether you love him or you hate him, there is a league-wide fascination with Mike Tomlin. To the point where, obviously getting near the end of the season, there was all this, crap flying around. And yes, I'm saying crap flying around about Mike Tomlin, thinking about, hanging him up and taking a year off. And, that led some people to be, led some people to think like, oh, maybe he'll, get a job on as a pundit, talking, football as an analyst or, whatever, that he'll get some sort of rich contract, to be on TV. And it's like, dude, like, this is all crap, but it's Mike Tomlin. There's a lot of people who are very fascinated by Mike Tomlin. He's a polarizing figure in Pittsburgh. There's a lot of fans that love him. There's a lot of fans that can't stand him and think that Steelers should have fired him a long time ago, and definitely shouldn't have given him go back and watch some of the episodes on here from last week after the contract extension went down. There's a lot of people that didn't think he deserved the contract extension. So you love him or you hate him, man. Like, he's a polarizing figure, but there's a league-wide fascination about him. And, this is just a way for the NFL to, peel back the curtain a little bit more. So, Jay Moods says, I'll watch it, but I prefer the Steelers to keep their business private. I think the Steelers prefer to keep their business private too. But I think, again, the NFL, it's they're eventually going to have their way. They probably, if I had to kind of paraphrase the conversations, how it went down into my own vernacular, it'd be, all right, guys, you're the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers, man. Like, we have to have you on eventually. You're the Steelers. Like, this isn't, you guys aren't the Jaguars, who we have to constantly send to London every year, so, even multiple times, because nobody else wants to go. You're the Steelers. We have to feature you at some point, somehow, some way. And I think that, again, this is the way for the Steelers to do it, in which it's like, we don't have to be the singular focus because it's a whole division. So I do think they prefer to keep their business private. I think that the Steelers did this reluctantly, regardless of what they say on, in front of a microphone or website or anything like that. I'm excited to see Mike Tomlin's response to the first question about it during training camp. It's going to be fun. Excited about it. So, all right. Well, we are entering a period of the calendar, because there might be some people that go, okay, dude, you're 22 and a half minutes into the show. There's my dog saying hi to everybody. Hey. Shh. I'm trying to talk to a lot of people right now. Shh. The beauty of live YouTube, man. It's awesome. Come here. Shush it. He's a good watchdog. He's not a good guard dog. But yeah. Oh, here's something that we can talk about, because I was gonna say there's a lot. We're 22 minutes in, 22 and a half minutes in, and we haven't talked about anything else other than Hard Knocks. Listen, we're about to enter a stretch of 6 weeks with nothing coming up. The only thing that's going to possibly happen is if a trade happens, anything that this is the most dead period of the year when it comes to the NFL. It just is. So Tomas says, let us see the dog. Maybe at the end of the show I will. But to kind of change the subject so we can talk about something else other than Hard Knocks. Jay Moods asks, anyone see the Ayuk post? So there was a video that started circulating on social media. I actually meant to just wrapped up with a lot of work. I was going to put it in our Steelers feed. Probably do it right after here. I'm done with the show. Just for anybody else who hasn't seen it. There was a video that went out. I think it was a TikTok or something like that. I don't know. But with Brandon Ayuk talking with Jaden Daniels on the phone and pretty much saying they don't want me anymore or whatever it is. And that's only going to throw again. I wrote about it. I don't remember when it was. I think it was after June 1st, after the June 1 deadline. I wrote about it and I said, listen, post June 1, man, these trade rumors, they're just going to pick up even more. The longer this goes, the more they're going to go up. And Jay Mood says, yeah, he said San Francisco. Now, he didn't say San Francisco. He's playing the pronoun game. He said they. Now, you could very, very well infer that he's talking about the 49ers. But there's one thing that I pay attention to when it comes to certain things is, it's kind of that. Anybody watched the movie The Ring, the horror movie from probably 20 some odd years ago? That movie was perfect at playing the pronoun game. All right. Like that movie was perfect with she said this or she tells me things, and it's constantly like, who tells you things? It's constantly playing that pronoun game so that they don't say who it is. It keeps you guessing, keeps that mystery going. And he did say they. He didn't say the 49ers don't want me anymore. He said they don't want me anymore. Now, again, the inference to the 49ers is very strong. So that's most likely, especially with the fact that this is a video now circulating the internet. Unless Ayuk just flat out comes out and says, yeah, I wasn't talking about San Francisco. Yeah. So, yeah, it's only going to pour more gas on the fire, man. That's just all it's going to do. And every time the Ayuk rumors take another, the flames reignited and everything like that, the Steelers are going to be at the center of it. They just are. And so, and there you go. Damon asks a question. Do you think the longer it takes, the cheaper he would cost? Talking about the Ayuk trade. Yes, I do. I don't think that, I think there was a report that the Steelers had a trade either in the works or whatever else during the draft. I don't know if it was for Ayuk or Samuel. I honestly don't know. I can't independently confirm it, so I'm not going to try to pretend to know. But either way, it didn't work out. Might have been certain asking price, whatever it was. But whatever that asking price was back then, that's not the way it is now. No way the 49ers can get what they're asking for it. It's I'm kind of going through the same thing as, trying to sell the house. The longer it's on the market, the less leverage you have, right? When you're potentially shopping a receiver in the trade market, the longer you're doing that and the longer you've gone without a team, cashing in and giving what you're asking, the asking price goes down. That's basic economics. It works the same way in sports whenever you're talking about trades or you're talking about players who want to be signed. The longer you're on the market, the less leverage you have of getting the money you want. So and Travis says a good thing here. Says, but you don't want to wait too long, so he has time to adjust to the offense. Well, the thing here now is that it almost doesn't matter if it's between now, okay, let's just say, let me put it this way. It almost doesn't matter if the trade happens today or if it happens July 20th. It almost doesn't matter. And the main reason why is that there is literally nothing going on. There are no team meetings. There are no practices. There is nothing going on until July 25th, right? Players report to training camp on July 24th. First practice is July 25th. So that's it. Like, there's nothing else going between now and then. So the Steelers can afford to possibly hold out a little longer, whether it's a trade for Ayuk, a trade for Samuel, or any other receiver. They can afford to wait a little longer because the only thing that you can really do is give him the playbook a little earlier. And yeah, he can go through the playbook and start learning things, but it's one thing to read it about it on your own, as opposed to the offensive coordinator or anybody else trying to teach it to you and install it for you. So they can afford to wait. Yeah. So, but it is really, really interesting to see a video like that come across. Could just be a ploy. Excuse me. Could just be a ploy from Ayuk to get more money. Very possible. And yeah, that's it. Could just be that. It could also be very, very true. Brandon Ayuk might be going somewhere else. Who knows? And Travis asks, so do you think something may happen later, maybe near preseason? In terms of a big trade, I think once training camp begins, the chances of a big trade happening go down. Now, I don't want to necessarily rule it out. Like the moment players report to training camp, that if a trade hasn't happened by then, that ain't happening. But I do think the chances go down. The reason why I don't think the chances completely go away is because when you're trading for a really good player, which Brandon Ayuk's a really good player, or Deebo Samuel, or any of these other receivers, they're really good players for a reason, and they can pick up on things pretty, I won't say easily, but they tend to pick up on things quicker than most players. For example, you want to go back to not that long ago when the Steelers acquired Minkah Fitzpatrick in between weeks 2 and 3 in the 2019 season. And that first game, despite not really knowing the defense, Minkah Fitzpatrick had a pick. He had a forced fumble. He was a playmaker immediately, despite not knowing the defense. Good players, great players can adjust quickly, and they're smart. And so that's why I wouldn't rule it out, to be completely honest. But I do think that if there is not a trade done by the time training camp starts, I do think the chances go down. As I sit right now here on June 17th. Oh, we got some news here. Not Steelers news, but receiver news. Via Adam Schefter, or actually not even via Adam Schefter, via the Bengals. The Bengals have re-signed T. Higgins to a 1-year contract. So that's one receiver could possibly be off the market. Not that I really thought the Steelers were going to have a real legitimate chance of getting T. Higgins. I mean, the Bengals are going to trade a talented receiver to Pittsburgh, to a division rival that they hate. Okay. Like anytime T. Higgins has been brought up in these rumors, I've always kind of almost not even wanted to mention it, just because it's like, come on, we really think the Bengals are going to seriously entertain trading a talented receiver to the hated Steelers? No way. So, but Cody brings it up here. He says, that means Higgins is gone after the year. Could be, for sure. 1-year contract. He'll be a free agent. Yep. So, really good question from Damon. Good. Close out. It says, "Yo, Chris, who are you most looking forward to seeing in camp?" That's a good question, man. I don't know if there's necessarily one player that I'm looking forward to, but I'm really interested to watch some of the camp battles. And I know it sounds like a kind of a cop-out answer, just because, like, well, there's always camp battles to watch for. But I'll try to acquiesce and give you one player. I'm gonna say Roman Wilson. I really want to see what he can do. You know what? Nix that. Calvin Austin. That's my answer. Calvin Austin. I want to see what Calvin Austin looks like whenever he is afforded the chance to earn a spot as a legitimate starting receiver. Right? He's going to have the opportunity to win that. He'll be going up against Van Jefferson and Roman Wilson. But I'm going to say Calvin Austin, because there's a lot of athleticism there. When you hear Zach Azzani, the new receivers coach, talk up Calvin Austin the way he has, Calvin Austin is if he becomes a much better route runner, Steelers don't need to get a wide receiver too. Like, sure, it's like it just solidifies the position even more, and then it becomes a really, really deep position. But if you can have one of the guys that you already have internally become a legitimate guy, and Calvin Austin absolutely has the speed and athleticism. If he can become a guy you can rely on to be more than just an, hey, just go run as fast as you can, run past the defense and catch go balls. With the amount of positive reviews that Calvin Austin was getting during OTAs and minicamp, I'm excited to see what he can do in training camp. Some of you guys are saying Peyton Wilson. That's another guy too. Peyton Wilson's another guy I'm interested to watch. And Jay Moods said, Russell Wilson seemed hype on Calvin Austin. Yeah, that's another. Well, it's not just coaches that are giving Calvin Austin a lot of praise. It's also players, especially the quarterback. So I'm gonna go ahead and say Calvin Austin. That's my answer. So, but there are several players, several position battles, to see, okay, how does Peyton Wilson fit into the inside linebacker rotation? Because right now you would think, Patrick Queen and Landon Roberts is the primary two guys, but then you have to figure Cole Holcomb into the mix if he's healthy. And from the last we heard, he's trending in that direction. But then you have Peyton Wilson, who's coming in, was Bednarik winner, Butkus winner in college, best defensive player in college last year. And how does he fit into that mix, right? How does Dante Jackson look in this defense? How does he look whenever Joey Porter Jr. can be the follow the number one guy around and press him all game long, while Jackson's more of the off the ball type corner on the other side? How does Dante Jackson fit there? How does Darnell Washington look in year two? How does Keanu Benton look in year two? These year two guys are really interesting as well. So there are a lot of players, but I'm going to say Calvin Austin. That's my final answer for today. All right, thank you guys so much for joining the show. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. We'll be back tomorrow. Still in the works on trying to get something possibly special for the show in the coming days, weeks. We got a lot of time. We got a lot of time between now and training camp. That time is going to go by fast, at least for me, because I'm trying to sell house. Oh, really, really quick. I did see somebody ask it earlier about how the showings went this past weekend. We haven't heard anything from any of the showings, which, no news is good news, I guess. But we had 2 showings Saturday, and then we also had an open house Saturday that resulted in 2 people coming by. And the only thing we've heard back was the 2 people that looked at the house during the open house were early in the stages of their search process. So haven't heard anything on any of those. It's been a couple days, so I don't know. We'll see. But either way, Devon says, hope to meet you in Latrobe, Chris. Either way, I will be at training camp. We are running out of time in terms of moving the way we want to move. So, yeah. And Tito says DFW is just competitive. It's not just DFW. Yes, DFW is for sure. But where I live, the city that I live in is the 6th fastest growing city in the Metroplex. Yeah, man, it's with a very large and affordable selection of new build inventory. It's hard to sell a house in the city. So not unless you really want to sell it for a lot less than what you deserve for it. So, Turk asks, did you go to any of the OTAs? No, I'm trying to sell my house here in Texas. So no, I did not go to any OTAs or minicamp. I wanted to, but No, I am in the process of trying to get my house sold so that I can be up. Because ideally we get our house sold in time. We are able to move as a family in time so that we can be up there before training camp. But either way, I will be up there for training camp, and then we'll go about it how we need to go about it. So William says time for vacation for a lot of the players and executives. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. This is the time of year where you're going to see players get married and take vacations and stuff like that. This is when they do it. Same thing with executives and coaches, and pretty much if you work for an NFL team, this is the time to take your vacation. Even like members of the media, like shoot, man, I know there are 2 members of just the Steelers beat that are getting married like during this gap. So, and Travis asked, Chris will be at the draft in the Berg. If I'm still working for DK Pittsburgh Sports, which I have every intention of doing right now, absolutely I will. That'll be in 2 years though. So, Pittsburgh Toddy 86 does say something here interesting. New build homes are increasingly inferior to older construction to a certain extent, but you have to think about the average buyer. The average buyer nowadays, especially when you consider, we're getting into like non-Steeler stuff near at the end of the show. So if you're not wanting to hear that kind of stuff, that's fine. Yeah. But with the way rates are nowadays, man, people are already skeptical about buying. They want to make sure that they're getting everything right. And I think it's a situation which a lot of people they would rather get something brand new because they don't want to take on something in which, they don't know everything. Like, yes, you can have a home inspection done, but if you by chance hire a crappy home inspector or even a mid home inspector, he doesn't look through every nook and cranny of the house. And he's like, yeah, no, like this house ain't worth it. They would rather just take a new build so that they know they're not just inheriting somebody else's problem. Now we've done everything we possibly can with this house to make the guts of it be as pristine as possible. Specifically the roof and Chris B71 says warranties too. Yeah, that goes along with it too. Now, I mean, I pay for a home warranty and it's a very affordable home warranty, but it's still like older constructions, pre-owned homes don't come with the same warranties as new builds. There's a lot of benefits to buying a new build, but typically a lot of the reasons why people don't buy new builds is because of how expensive they are, right? But when you live in a town and that has a very large inventory of new builds, a lot of space to build a lot of homes, and there is so much room to build new houses in the town that I live in. The town that I live in, man, they are constantly building things because there have just been fields and fields and fields of just empty space. And now they're filling up all these fields with restaurants and stores and all this kind of stuff, man. Like and all these fields are also going to turn into neighborhoods. Excuse me. Sorry. And William says Texas is big. Yes, it is. It's very big. So that's Piet asked a really good question because I saw the temperature up in Pittsburgh for this week, and holy crap, like Pittsburgh is getting a gigantic heat wave. Like I saw this 92, 93, 91, 94, 93, 92, 6 days in a row of 90 plus in mid-June in Pittsburgh. That is ridiculous. That is like here, right? That's like where I live. 92, 92, 84, little cool day here. Then 92, 93, 93, 95, 95, 92, 96. That's about what it normally is. So right now, Pittsburgh is dealing with similar weather to Texas. I'll put it that way, at least with North Texas. So there you go. In case people in Pittsburgh are wanting to like, man, it's as hot as Texas here. You're actually not exaggerating. You're right there with typical DFW North Texas weather right now. So there you go. Yeah. Travis says, keep the dog cool. Dude, he was swimming in his little pool in the backyard yesterday, man. Of course we do. Yeah. So we're doing everything we can to sell the house, man. Got a brand new roof on the house. We're trying to hope that was going to be a good selling point for a lot of people. I think that will eventually help, especially when it comes to keeping up the value of the house. So, but we're trying to get it sold as quickly as possible so we can get up there. So, all right, going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate all you guys' feedback and how much you like, just all the comments and everything, like how much you guys care. Really appreciate it, man. Really quick. Attention fan says, not related to Steelers, but have you been to any Mavs games? Yes, I have. I've been to a lot of Mavs games. Yeah. Actually, it's been a while, but the most recent one I went to, we actually sat on the floor. It wasn't front row. It was behind one of the hoops, and it was like kind of caddy corner. So, and then we were like, you have those first couple of rows, and then we were that first row after that. Really, really cool. I think it was Luka Doncic's. It was Luka's rookie year, I think. So it was when he was also playing with Dirk. So it was really, really cool. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Talk to you guys later. Catch you on the flippity flip. See you tomorrow.